Everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate everyone coming here as we wrap up quite a busy year, and we're here to celebrate the great work that Sasha is doing. I'm associate professor in the Department of Theater, Film, and Media Arts, and I'm also the head of the acting and directing area and director of the Shakespeare and Autism project. And I've been the director since 2015, and I've been involved in this work since 2012. So very excited to introduce Sasha and our Bridgeway partner, Alexa Reck. I'll introduce them in just a couple of seconds. Let me just get this started here. There we go. Awesome. So the Shakespeare and Autism project has been at OSU since 2011. It's a collaboration between the Department of Theater, Film, and Media Arts and the Nysanger Center, which studies developmental disabilities. It's art and science coming together to explore the effectiveness of drama games in helping children navigate their social and communicative skills. The project began when Kelly Hunter, a British actor, director, and educator, brought her work with children on the autism spectrum from England to OSU. And her Hunter Heartbeat method, sorry, I'm just going to start that again. There we go. Her Hunter Heartbeat method, it is drama games based on Shakespeare to see if we can help children target specific core features of autism and help their communication and social skills, as well as develop an awareness of clear and free expression and finding craft opportunities for that. Through our service learning course, our Shakespeare and Autism service learning course, and interactive workshops with children, we train OSU students to facilitate these workshops using the Hunter Heartbeat method, and also to start to create their own drama games as well. The Nysanger Center's research has revealed that the Hunter Heartbeat method is an effective intervention in helping to strengthen and develop the communicative and social skills of children who have been diagnosed with autism. And the Shakespeare and Autism became a part of our curriculum in 2013. And both graduate and undergraduate students can enroll in this course. In over 15 weeks, students learn the Hunter Heartbeat method. They research core features of autism. And over the last 10 weeks, they facilitate workshops with children. So far, 87 OSU students have enrolled in this course, and 30% of them have gone on to use theater as civic engagement professionally, or they've gone on to study that in graduate school. And hundreds of children and young adults in and around Central Ohio, as well as Los Angeles, Cincinnati, Chicago, Wilmington, North Carolina, and several other locations. That work is being brought to children and their families by students who started here at OSU and so took that work and took it out into other parts of the country. In addition, Kelly Hunter's Flute Theater has been bringing this work virtually and in person to children throughout Europe. And they've developed productions of The Tempest, Midsummer Night's Dream, and Pericles. And these productions are not for autism, but they include children with autism. The children are part of the performance, just as they are intimately involved in the workshops that we do. So there's a significant sort of real-world impact that is coming out of this class and this project that we couldn't be more thrilled about. And a big part of this is the internship and the partnership that we have with Bridgeway Academy, which is a school for children with developmental disabilities here in Columbus. And Sasha Borshev is the 5th recipient of the OSU Shakespeare and Autism Bridgeway Academy Internship. The internship has proved to be an invaluable experience for the students who've been involved, both educationally and professionally. Just to give you an example, 3 of our first 4 interns have turned the experience of the internship into employment or further education in the field. Mackenzie Peterson, our first intern in 2018, subsequently started a full-time position at the Learning Spectrum, a school for children with autism here in Columbus, as the drama intervention specialist. And Emma Fahrenkopf, our 2020 intern, was then hired in a full-time teaching position at Bridgeway following her graduation. And Rithika Gopalakrishnan, last year's intern, is finishing her first year of grad school in drama therapy at Lesley University in Massachusetts. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, which I seem to have a little bit of problem with. But I'm really happy to introduce my collaborative partner at Bridgeway, Alexa Reck. Alexa has been happily employed at Bridgeway Academy since she graduated with her master's in speech language pathology from OSU in 2013. And during this time, she's attended multiple trainings and conferences covering subjects such as social skills for young people with autism, improving language and literacy skills for adolescents, and of course, the Hunter Heartbeat Method. She's completed training in prompt treatment for articulation and is a LAMP certified professional working with students using alternative communication systems. She supports the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network and uses their resources to encourage self-advocacy in her clients. And when she's not at Bridgeway, she spends time with her husband, Dave, and her son, Owen, whose autism inspired Alexa's decision to become a speech-language pathologist. So, Alexa, that was my introduction. I hope I don't know if I could do it justice to everything that you do at Bridgeway, but I think that was a good start. I just wanted to talk to you just for a second before we brought Sasha on, just to talk about, your point of view about the value of this internship and the ongoing partnership. This is your first year as sort of the point person, the point mentor for the internship. And I was just curious about your experience with that and how you view the internship.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I see this work that we're doing together as being valuable in multiple ways. Bridgeway Academy has been here in Columbus for 16 years now, and collaboration is one of our core values. That value has led us to seek out opportunities to work with multiple groups around the city. We've partnered with Ballet Met and Thurber House and the VSA Project and other ways to bring partners in to meet our students and to enrich their opportunities, and hopefully to allow more people in the community to engage directly with autistic students to broaden awareness and acceptance in the community. I think this particular project has a lot of merit because, as you said, this is specifically meant to serve young people with autism. It is research-based. So unlike some of those other programs, it's very targeted to the population we hope to serve at Bridgeway Academy. As a speech therapist, I am always welcoming the opportunity to bring new people in so that my students can engage with people. They can explore how they're generalizing their communication skills with someone new. And it gives me the chance to talk to someone who has a fresh set of eyes, who says, oh, I noticed the student did this. And it lets me think about what they're seeing and work with the student and work with people in the community to broaden education in that area. And additionally, I think this chance, as you were saying, with the past recipients of this internship and with Sasha, to train professionals who may be working with autistic people in the future to support their needs is incredibly valuable. So much of education, I know even from my own experiences in my speech therapy program, there's a lot you do that is book learning, that's indirect. Those direct face-to-face experiences add so much more to that. And so having the chance to have OSU students who are interested in working with the autistic community come in and have sort of a beginning direct interaction for a sustained period of time for a whole semester really helps me feel that those professionals going out into the field later will have so much more knowledge and awareness to base their work on.
That's great. No, thanks, Alexa. And also the notion that it's a play-based intervention.
Mhm.
Um, is that something that sort of gives it a unique quality, sort of in the way that that the Bridgeway curriculum is set up? And I know you're involved in the drama clubs with two groups after school.
Yeah.
Is the play-based notion of it sort of have a unique effectiveness from your point of view, or is it just sort of part of?
Yeah, I think, play is a part of so much of what we do at Bridgeway Academy. And sometimes play is not something that the general public, maybe folks who haven't just had a lot of direct interaction with autistic people, they maybe don't think of them as being playful. But everyone plays. Some people have different play styles than others.
Right.
And at Bridgeway, we really get the opportunity to respectfully approach our students and note the ways that they're engaging in play, and then offer other opportunities of play to see if they want to try other things and engage other ways. I think the invitational nature of these games, that doesn't say sort of, hey, you're playing wrong, I'm in charge, let me make you have fun.
Yeah.
That's not how play works. It's built on trust and understanding that we're not going to make fun of each other. We're all going to follow the rules, just some basic guidelines, but we're going to do something new and novel.
Yeah.
It's valuable for engagement for our students. It's valuable for, I think, broadening others' horizons of what they can do, what they're capable of doing.
Yeah.
So it builds their confidence in playfulness. Because honestly, as a speech therapist, I've said to many folks, improv is life. You walk into any conversation and you don't necessarily know which way it's going to go, or what turn it's going to take. And we improvise all the time. And so building that playfulness and that confidence in our students is a very valuable thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I think the play-based nature of the Shakespeare and Autism games, um, it, the children are engaging in play, but also sort of working on practical communication and social skills without it being a targeted for results. It's simply playing of games, and I think part of the expansion of this partnership is us beginning to come into the classes in addition to the internship, which has been a tremendous experience this semester, with my Shakespeare and Autism students coming into the classes at Bridgeway to play some of these games, and hopefully we can continue to expand the partnership as we move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and just say very quickly that the Shakespeare and Autism project and the internship couldn't be possible without the students who enroll, OSU students who enroll in our course, and all of those students have an impulse toward service and engagement and empathy, and also we couldn't do this without the Nice Center and the Nice Center's director Mark Tasse and the support team that they provide for us, their PhD students, and that has sort of created a model for cross-disciplinary collaboration over a number of years that we hope to continue to grow. And I also just want to take a second to thank our department chair, E.J. Westlake, as well as our divisional dean, Dana Renga, for their continued enthusiastic and sort of committed support for this project. And finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our former chair and Professor Emeritus Leslie Ferris, and my former faculty colleague Robin Post, who's currently on the faculty at UNC Wilmington. Leslie and Robin spearheaded the Shakespeare and Autism project in the beginning, and we wouldn't be here sort of having this event, having these opportunities without their work. And finally, the most important, we want to acknowledge the children and their families who allow us the privilege to serve and play and forge genuine connections with them. And Sasha was able to do that with incredible grace and ability this semester. Sasha's a third-year studio art major with a theater minor. And her experience at OSU began in our theater program, where her love of acting led her to find a passion for art, design, and behind the scenes work. And at the end of her second year at OSU, she changed her major from theater to studio art. And working with mixed media as well as drawing and painting, Sasha's goal is to illuminate the human experience through her art. And she's simply a really gifted teaching artist. And she's now has all these gifts to bring, not only her theater gifts, but also her studio art and creativity to bring to the work. And she has this sort of uncanny knack for connecting with students with blazing speed. And she had a deep and natural affinity for the Shakespeare and Autism work right from the beginning. And she now has taken that skill and expanded it to include her own interventions, which you'll hear about, and her own singular voice in how she approaches the activities. So without further ado, I want to give the floor over to Sasha and her presentation.
Hello, can everyone see me? Okay, one second. Sorry, my screen was black. My name is Sasha Borshev. Thank you for that, Kevin. He already knocked out that wonderful introduction. I am a third-year studio art major with a background in theater. That was where I started my journey at Ohio State. I changed my major approximately 7,000 times, but in the beginning, I was really sure that theater was it. And I wanted to act, and this is what I was going to do. But I did end up finding, through acting, I ended up finding my passion for behind the scenes work. And through that, I also found my passion for art. And I would like to share my screen and tell you all a little bit about this wonderful experience that I've had at Ohio State and through this internship. So give me just one second. And I've spoken before about my major change and why that was such a crucial thing for me to shift from being in front of an audience to behind it. A lot of my work is centered in people, portraits, faces, narrative, because as Kevin mentioned before, and you'll probably hear me mention it again, sharing the human experience, which is something so unique to each and every one of us, is something very important to me. I believe that just by looking at someone and their environment, you learn so much that you might not otherwise know. And I like to illuminate that in my work. And when I changed my major, the decision came about towards the end of my freshman year to the beginning of my sophomore year. And what a lot of people don't know is the semester that I began with Shakespeare and Autism in 2019 was also the semester I was heavily considering dropping out of school altogether. And that class was the 2 times a week when I felt as if I was part of something bigger and that I had a purpose. I have worked with kids since I was about 14 or 15. I worked as an assistant coach. I was the gymnast for most of my life. I coached through high school. I also judged competitive gymnastics for young children. And this is where I started to find my joy in creating connections with kids. I initially started Shakespeare and Autism with the intention of possibly studying to become a teacher. And I wanted to see whether I enjoyed it. And I also believed that an incredibly important part of being an educator or working with kids is being able to work with all sorts of kids. And that was where I found joy in working with people on the spectrum and with other developmental disabilities. Because at the end of the day, people are people, and you should be able to share your experience with anybody. And so when Kevin reached out to me earlier this semester with the opportunity for this internship, at that point, I hadn't acted or really exposed myself to theater in about 2 years because I had changed my major. And I also, like everyone in the theater department, was majorly bogged down by COVID, and theater just had been the furthest thing from my mind for a very long time. So this was an opportunity to kind of marry everything that I loved and bring it to a new place. So I went into it with the one goal of making connections, because through, whether it's theater, whether it's drawing, whether it's simply just talking to somebody, I feel that we all have stories to share, and that was what I wanted to bring to Bridgeway. So we talked a little bit about the Shakespeare and Autism program towards the beginning, and the way my Bridgeway experience was different was that I worked with 2 groups. One of them was a teen group, and one of them was an adult group. And both of them devised their own show completely, while the teen groups was a roller coaster ride of alien abductions and graffiti art and wizards. The adult group's show was about a treasure hunt that went through the desert, the jungle, a water slide, and a roller coaster all at once. So as you can tell, we had probably the most exciting content to work with. And along with this work was conducting a variety of interventions and theater games that would help the people that I worked with to further their social skills, complete a goal of maybe following directions or being able to hold a conversation with a peer, or even just the experience of sitting in a room with 5 or 6 other people and being able to create something together and talk about it. So this game is called Happy and Sad, and it is similar to some of the games that we conducted in Shakespeare and Autism, which really dealt with recognizing and imitating facial expressions. Towards the beginning of my work with Shakespeare and Autism and Bridgeway as well, I did a lot of research in trying to figure out how am I going to best help these people without, rewind that. My research was to be able to understand how people on the spectrum think, and then to be able to put that into my own work. And with Happy and Sad, facial recognition was an important thing. And I'll explain more after you see it. It'll make more sense. Warning though, the volume is a little bit low on these videos, so I would crank it up for the video, but then turn it back down once we're finished watching it. Oop. I have to share my sound. 1 second.
Happy.
Happy. Happy.
Sad.
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 Happy.
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 Happy. Happy.
Happy.
Happy. Happy.
Sad.
So as you could see, that game was about carrying the emotion through the circle, being able to read what was on someone else's face, and then relaying it back to another person. What I learned through my research was that people on the spectrum can sometimes have a difficult time recognizing and understanding a facial expression when it connects to an emotion. Sometimes in my work with Shakespeare and autism, I noticed like if I asked a child to make an angry face, sometimes they didn't always know or feel what that face would be. It wasn't as easy for some of the kids to be able to recognize that this is angry. And so through these games and being able to practice recognizing someone's face and body language, I think is an amazing way to explore social connection and practicing empathy and really giving these kids a safe space to work and understand the world around them.
Happy.
I also learned a lot about the experience of autistic individuals through the observations that Bridgeway provided me with. I only had a slim understanding of therapy, which I knew there was talk therapy and I knew there was physical therapy, and I had briefly heard of occupational therapy, but I had never really seen it in action. And I am very grateful to the students and the therapists who let me shadow their sessions. The most jarring and exciting to watch for me was music therapy. To be able to watch a group of children not only listen and connect to a song that they liked, which everybody knows that feeling of just getting lost in something, but also in the process, they are following directions. They are listening to the words of the song and thinking about what they mean. They are singing the song. Sometimes they are practicing using their voices. A song makes them move around. It makes them move their bodies. And so I think sometimes we don't even realize how many areas one activity can cover. And I think that's also the beautiful thing about drama therapy is it has a lot of similar effects. I also really enjoyed shadowing and discussing speech therapy. I got the great benefit of working with Alexa, who is the greatest speech therapist around. And we really had a lot of discussions about how accessibility comes into the picture, because some of the speech therapy sessions I watched were with children who used devices to help them communicate, and they weren't always verbal communicators. And it brought to me the very important question of how can I have a conversation with someone who is not speaking to me out loud, perhaps with someone who is using a device to communicate with me, someone who needs to sign to communicate with me. And how do I take this experience and make it so that I can create an intervention that includes that child? I can create an intervention that that child feels seen in. And it's a very, very possible thing to do. And I think that is missing in a lot of whether that is school or theater or anything in between. And I will get more into how interventions have been adapted as we go along. This intervention is called Speak Out. And it was probably one of the last ones that I had introduced to my two groups. And it was centered around, actually, I don't need to explain it because I explain it here. It was centered around being able to speak your line from far away and still be heard and facing the audience.
Are going to be in the front, and I, as the audience, me and Alexa might move too. We're going to move back, so you guys can just stay on the stage and say your line when Miss Martin holds it. Tatum, do you want to go first?
Yep.
Okay. Remember that we're doing this because we're practicing how loud we need our voice to be, depending on how close or far an audience member is. And you also want to stay facing us because we can't hear you if you guys are turned around or turned to the side. All right. Let's see it, Tatum.
Pick one of your lines, Tatum, that you want to.
Do you have a line in mind that you want to practice?
So that's just a brief intro, and then I will show you one of our
Be in the
students
front, and I, as the audience, me and Alexa might move too.
interacting with that activity.
But it looks cool. Well, maybe we'll get to meet someone new.
Nice. Then what if I was sitting?
Well, Tatum,
You stay there.
here.
Just
Stay on
I
stage.
move.
She's gonna move.
Because we might have audience members sitting all the way back here. So whenever you're ready, try your line again.
I don't know. It looks cool. Maybe we'll get to meet someone new.
Nice. I can hear you clearly all the way from back here. How about one more?
I don't know. It looks cool. Maybe we'll get to meet someone new.
Awesome. Good job, Tatum. Who wants to try it next?
Anyone?
Johannes, do you want to try?
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was a little bit of Speak Out. It ended up being the teen and adult group's favorite intervention, which I wasn't expecting, but I'm very glad that they liked it. And we later adapted that with my adult group. There is a young man with mobility issues, and for the majority of our sessions, he's often sitting. And when we played this game the first time, I had the students move closer and farther rather than the audience moving. But then when I had to play this game with the adult group, and I noticed that one of our individuals was not going to be going up steps and moving back and forth, we changed the game, and he sat in the front and we moved the audience. And that might seem like such a simple fix, but I think that these are the little things that make art and education more accessible. It is meeting the individual where they are and also showing them that your specific needs are not an inconvenience to me or anything like that. It is not difficult for me to make this accessible and inclusive to you. And I think that's the tone that all of this work needs to take.
But it looks cool.
I would like to move to the next slide if it will let me. Yes, so I do want to continue talking about adaptation in how it ended up falling into our laps in the teen group. One of our students, who I will refer to as C, was originally casted in the show. I was not acting in the show for either group. I was just watching and helping. But about halfway through the devising and rehearsing of the show, this student C had been going through a difficult time at home in the classroom. He also was having trouble with just being a teenage boy and growing up. He had some insecurities. And one of his largest insecurities at that time was his voice was changing, and he didn't like how it sounded. So for the first few weeks of this issue coming to light, it showed itself in different ways. One of the first things that Alexa and I noticed, it was more Alexa because she works with those students on a daily basis. And she said, hey, C is having some issues in the classroom and he's been acting out. As the weeks went on and we talked to C about what was going on, he just said he didn't want to be in the show at all. He didn't want to be seen. And that was already heartbreaking enough to hear that he was going through a rough time. But I realized that, you know, we needed to make a change in the show, but we could still have him involved in a way that had him comfortable and in a way that had him being productive and still connected with his other classmates. So we moved C to sound design. And C is also a student who is really inclined in art, and he assisted with a bunch of prop design. And in the weeks before we switched his position, he did not want to participate at all. But once we got him a spot working on sound in the back and still being able to support his classmates, he shined. And I think this is just as important as changing an activity or anything else. And it was important to me as well because I almost faced a similar experience in not wanting to be the person that was seen in the art. I wanted to be the person behind it. And so I wanted him to have that opportunity to be able to see like, hey, just because you're not acting in this show doesn't mean that you're not a part of it. Because as I told you guys before, our show is about aliens and there's a spaceship crash landing in it. So we needed some serious sound effects, and C does a great job with Alexa carrying our show. So once this did happen and C was out of the show, I ended up taking his place as the second alien in the show. And this is my alien counterpart. We will call him T. This scene in particular is when the aliens were getting arrested for spraying graffiti on the wall of a house. Apart from this scene just being funny, this is one of my favorites because it focused with body language and the expression of shock and, oh my goodness, we're being arrested. And a lot of the times in this scene, T and I have improvised whatever reaction lines that we have done together. And it's very fun each time. But I did speak about body language and the importance of it. And we actually did conduct a lot of interventions about walking in a different environment. Like, how would you walk in the snow? How would you walk in the desert? How would you walk if you were an alien? And just the message of my body is different in different situations. My body feels different when I'm angry. My body feels different when I am scared. My face is different when I am scared. And as we did these interventions, I got to see them grow over the course of the semester. If I told them, hey, try that one more time, you've almost got it, they would take that feedback and increase the intensity of what they were doing. And so I think that is also a great part of drama interventions. Towards the end, just this past week, we are still rehearsing our show. It premieres on May 16th. Towards the end, it was important to me that with prop design, I wanted to bring art into the room. And we had to make a spaceship out of nothing. So I walked into the classroom with a big armful of cardboard boxes, and I said, Alexa, we're making a spaceship today. And so I brought some paint, and this is a picture of the teen group beginning to paint their spaceship. And with this intervention, what I did is I wrote a list on the board of the steps that we might want to take in order to decorate our spaceship, and painting the different layers and figuring out how we wanted it to look. Because I noticed in my observational work that children with autism tend to do better when there is an expected list in front of them and instructions to clearly illustrate the task that they need to do. I saw this in occupational therapy with cooking tasks, like in order to make a cup of coffee, first we pour the water into the coffee maker, then we pour the coffee beans into the coffee maker. I think as someone who also uses lists a ton in my daily life, it's something that eliminates a lot of anxiety, especially for a child who's doing something new for the first time. So doing this and mixing it with art was very, very rewarding to me. I wanted the students that I worked with to feel that this isn't a stressful thing. We can have fun, and you're allowed to ask questions, and you are an integral part of this show. So we're going to make every aspect of it, not just the acting. We're going to make the props too. These are just some lovely pictures of the adult group that I also had the pleasure to work with. Their show was much longer than the teen group, so there was a lot less conversation, with the exception of the beginning and the end. They also have a cabaret style show, so there's musical numbers. But here's a rehearsal shot. On the left, he was playing an air guitar to support his friend who was rehearsing his song in the middle. Sorry, my screen is freezing. But yes, so the adult group had a different style of show, but still, I got to have the opportunity to check in with them every time that they were in the classroom, ask them how things were going. It was most important to me to create a relationship with every person that walked through the door. And that was what we did through games and through play, which is honestly just exploring something authentically and finding where you resonate with it. I think play is a learning activity that can be utilized in any way. This is a picture, my favorite picture I've taken all semester, of one of the members of the adult group rehearsing his song. He's a wonderful and talented singer, and he loves what he does when he does it, and you can see it. And this is, when I see moments like this, I'm like, this is why I do what I do, because I believe it's important to share passion with people. It's important to form connections. And the way that drama therapy does this is something that I feel I've never seen before. There is a way to explore something as scary as a social situation or a social setting through simulated experiences like a show or a play, or even, 3 lines of Shakespeare. And I just had this amazing opportunity to form friendships and amazing relationships with the kids that I worked with, the adults that I worked with, and all the professionals that I had the pleasure of learning from at Bridgeway. I think that this experience not only made me a better teaching artist, a better actor, a better communicator, but most of all, it just made me it made me a better person in realizing that, yeah, I can share something and I can make this connection. And I can do it through something that I love. And I take this passion and this energy, and I'll be putting it into my work going forward, whether that's in a professional setting, being able to bring myself, all of myself, into something, or whether it's through my work. And it's been an amazing semester. I've learned so much, and I'm very, very grateful for it. So thank you, everyone, for taking some time out of your day to listen to my experience. And I hope that it leaves you more curious and enlightened about drama therapy, and that you check it out. Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we can move on with the Q&A.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sasha. That was great. That was really just sort of not only stimulating in an artist way, but it was just really revealing of how compassionate you are and just how committed and how good you are at this work, and how it comes naturally to you, this sort of melding of artistic, empathetic, and sort of intellectual work that you bring to everything. So it was I'm so glad everyone got a chance to hear you and see the work that you were doing.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the Q&A right now. I think you were so comprehensive and vividly specific that people did. There's no questions, but I had a question about this notion of meeting children where they are, right? And I'll ask that both Sasha and Alexa, because I feel like that's central to not only work with children on the autism spectrum, but in education. And I just wonder, how you approach that, Alexa, and in terms of meeting children where they are, and Sasha, like some of the takeaways in terms of your global thinking about how you want to pursue the rest of your postgraduate career in terms of meeting people where they are, and what part that plays in your approach.
Should we start that one? I think one of the things that I think about, one of the things that I shared with Sasha when she started this project, is the first week that she came, I did not, prior to that week, send her a list of the students' goals. I feel like I wanted her to come in and just interact with them and engage and see how they interacted with her in return. And I feel like sometimes there's this tendency, especially from a therapeutic perspective, or if you're meeting someone who maybe has seen a previous therapist, that first you read the entire chart and you come in with this list of expectations. Oh, this student struggles with this. This student is working on that. And while I think it's certainly important to have background to communicate with the family and the individual directly as far as what they want to work on and target, I think if you come in with too much of that set of oh, well, these are, I would not want to be introduced to people, having them previously to meeting me going, here's the thing she's not good at. That's not how any of us want to approach people. So letting her kind of come in, engage with them. And then the next week I was like, now from a speech therapy perspective, here are some of the challenges that I am working with these students on. So letting her have a chance first to see that. And maybe, she looks at those and as a novel person says, I hadn't even noticed that, or I feel like maybe this is a perspective we could take. That was one of the things that I kind of wanted to share with her and I think she's naturally inclined to do that anyway, was to start with the person and then move to the sort of clinical view.
Great. Awesome, Alexa. Anything to add to that, Sasha?
No, I think Alexa hit the nail right on the head with that. It's just that in the same way that you approach life, you know, if you start a new job or you're walking into a new classroom or just any new place, you're not going to receive a list of, hey, here's who's here, here are their likes and dislikes, here's something that might make them uncomfortable, and here is a full comprehensive record of all of their grades or something like that. And it's just something that, it's not that it's not important, because it is. It's that the person behind the paperwork comes first.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it, Sasha. I'm looking. We now have a flurry of questions.
You have questions?
We
I
do.
haven't even looked. Oh, I'm so excited.
So one is from Joe Fahey, one of our faculty colleagues, and just was wondering what IRB challenges did you face? And IRB being institutional review board, which is something we have to go through when we do active research with human subjects, is in sort of shorthand. And the answer is that we had no IRB challenges because there wasn't any active research happening in this particular semester. When there is active research happening with the NISANGR, then, Joe, we have, it's mostly the challenges are the extensive training and making sure everyone has taken that training. But this time we didn't have any challenges with that, luckily.
Yeah, I would say at Bridgeway, the closest we had to that was that always before an intern comes, we communicate with all of the families, make sure they're aware that someone new is coming into the group, and make sure we have consent there before that begins. Yeah, and in another sense, just like we have standard release forms for the workshops we do, and because we do use images and videos on our website and to just sort of archive and document our work. There's another question from Robert McClatchy, who I believe is probably someone related to me, pretty sure. Sasha, you wanted to know, how do you become so empathetic and caring at such a young age?
Well, first off, that is a lovely, lovely question and compliment. Thank you so much. There have been times when I have wanted to be seen and I wasn't. And so I feel that it is my job to make, not my job, but it is important to me that other people don't feel that way. And especially when I work with kids, it's like, hey, I'm here for you. Don't forget it. And I just like to carry that with me in my work.
That's great. That's great. And you've had so many opportunities, right, to sort of to reveal that empathetic nature, which is what I think drew you to the Shakespeare and Autism class in the first place, right? I mean, it's not a class you take unless you have that sort of impulse threaded in. Another question from Beth Quiet, who may or may not be a relative of mine. She said, how do you determine what might be a better fit for a student when their situation changes? Sort of that, again, sort of hitting that notion of meeting a student where they are.
I think a lot of the times it's so experimental. It's, okay, option A didn't work out. Maybe we can do B, C, or D, and we're going to try all three until we figure out what works. But it's a lot of using what went wrong in option A and trying to remedy that for the new options that you bring to the situation.
Yeah, I think in our group as well, we had a lot of opportunities, especially with the one student who experienced a pretty significant shift in his abilities and interest to engage during the course of the semester, in just asking him, like, okay, you're not comfortable with this. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And sometimes there's an assumption that when someone puts up a stop sign, that means nothing. I want to do nothing. And that's not always the case. It just means I don't want to do this. And so saying, what would you like to do? He loves to draw. So working on the art and the props is natural for him. He likes music. Letting him do the sound was natural for him. he may not know a lot about theater, so giving him some of the choices of, a theater production is not just actors. There are lots of people involved, and saying, here are some of the other roles you could take. What do you want to do? And then letting him have some agency and some choice is a really powerful thing.
Yeah, that is really powerful, Alexa. And I would just add that it's really that's what the artistry, that's where the artistry resides in someone who's a teaching artist, right? The artistry is divining the needs of a particular person, a particular individual in front of you in that moment, and then being able to adjust and craft those opportunities. And a lot of times in this work with the children, strategy A, which worked great on Tuesday, will just go completely sideways on Thursday, and you could be like, "Wait a second, I thought you loved, hugs," and he loved hugs on Tuesday, and then on Thursday, you have to try something else, right? And it's such a great exercise in being nimble and being able to, frankly, not take it personally, right? Because it's not really about you. It's about the child in front of you and the experience that they're having. And I think knowing that and sort of believing that in your bones really helps you just sort of go from one strategy to the other, right? And really try and take advantage of your own insight. We had another question, which was, what was your biggest struggle? This is from Aiden Jones. What was your biggest struggle during this experience and getting comfortable with these students who have a difficult time communicating? Also, great job, Sasha.
Well, thanks, Aiden. That was lovely of you. I think in relation to communicating with students who especially have verbal difficulties or use devices, none of our students in particular used communication devices, but we did have a few students who weren't the chattiest. And with that, it's just kind of like Kevin said, it's not taking it personally. It's not that someone who's not speaking doesn't have anything to say. It's just that they're quiet in that moment, and that's okay. I think probably the biggest struggle was realizing that it wasn't that I had to make an activity that would benefit the entire group. It was that I had to make an activity and then kind of morph myself into what each child needed in that activity, if that makes sense. To sort of learn how to individualize the attention for these students, because also that is a large part of what Bridgeway is about, is giving these students more one-on-one interaction. And that was a large part of me editing my interventions to, okay, we're gonna do it like this for you three, but maybe for you two, we're gonna try this because that's what you guys need. So that was, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I think we have time for this maybe one last question, I think. Connor Graham, one of our lecturers here, who actually played Christopher in Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. He portrayed a 15-year-old boy with autism and was spectacular. He sort of asked the same question that you just answered, but he expanded that to like for the three of us. What's the greatest challenge facing the Shakespeare and Autism work, and what do you think are the potential solutions to those challenges? I guess kind of the greatest challenge is not so much the work itself. It's oftentimes school administrators being willing to carve out the time for and see the value of Shakespeare and Autism. I don't include Bridgeway Academy in that. I just think in a global sense, in what when we go to schools and we go to organizations, just having just not so much starting from zero, but just trying to find a way in to say that this is really this is worthwhile. This is worth 1 or 2 hours a week, and it's a fight. It's a great place to plant your flag because we do. And in terms of the sort of nuts and bolts of it in the room, the greatest challenge is, and the greatest opportunity is the unknown. Because when 11 or 12 children with autism walk into the room, even if it's their 10th time there, you really aren't quite sure what's going to transpire, right? And you can look at that as a challenge, or you can look at it as an opportunity. And what we try to do is look at it as an opportunity as much as possible, and sort of go from there. I don't know if there's Alexa or Sasha, if there's something you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I think I could echo certainly what you've said. I think once someone engages with this program or observes this program, or looks at the research and understands its impact, I think it's automatic that the value is easily recognized. I think if you see how the participants love it and engage with it in ways that I've had teachers say, like, wow, in one of the classes you've come to at Bridgeway this year, you had a teacher say, like, I haven't seen this student interact in that way all year, and that was his first session. And she's absolutely somebody who is a believer in this program. And I think that spreads to her co-teachers because of that experience. And I think it spreads to others as she talks about it. But I think just getting more opportunities to get folks to take that first step and engage. And then I think once they do, then it makes the rest come faster and easier and spreads the word.
Yeah. I'll just also add that the will to keep it going is it's not so much a challenge. I mean, it can be a challenge because it can be it can be not exhausting, but to continue to do it, it just simply takes commitment, right? Like you say, we want to do this Shakespeare and Autism work. We want to continue to do it. We want to continue to expand it, and then finding people who share that will to do it would be, kind of just to put a button on this, another part of the challenge. But it's a challenge that we approach and sort of take head on because we know, being in the room, we know just just how transformative it is, not only for the children but also for us, right? This is as pure a two-way street as you're ever going to find in the arts, because everyone leaves better for this experience. The children and the teaching artists. Probably we get at least as good as we give from the kids. The last thing is Haley Franklin wanted to know if there's a way we can see the shows that we've worked on. Yeah, Haley, we can definitely show you The Tempest, which is what we have recorded. We can definitely give you access to that. It's not like out in the public, but we can definitely give you that. So just get in touch with me and you can watch that. I think we're past time, I believe. I just wanted to say again, thank you so much to everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it's been incredibly busy. And also, I wanted to apologize for my technological Neanderthal gymnastics at the beginning of this. My document froze and then it quit, and I was waiting for that, and I forgot about the slideshow and became a carnival of misadventure. But then Sasha restored the professionalism. So I was very happy about that. Thank you, Sasha. Again, congratulations. Incredible work. Just building on the great work you did in Shakespeare and Autism. It was inspiring to watch you work.
Thank you so much.
And Alexa, thank you for being an ideal partner and collaborator and just stepping into this role. And if anyone is interested in supporting this work, I'll just throw in the chat before we sign off. There's a Shakespeare and Autism Fund that was established by Patricia Heaton, the Emmy-winning actress, and her husband, David Hunt. And if anyone is interested in engaging in that way, of course, we would be in your debt. So again, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, And hopefully we will see you again. Our paths will cross as we continue this work. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.